Today on the Xtreme channel, we are not only going to contrast and compare these two Omega Red statues, but at the end we're going to announce a winner, and we're going to sell one of these to one of you. Was that a Freudian? Do you think it's this one because I pointed with this one? Sometimes I do Freudian slips. Like the other morning, I meant to ask my wife, will you please pass the orange juice, but instead it slipped out. You ruined my life, bitch. As the Xtreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the Xtreme channel. Today we have two Omega Red statues. If you don't know who Omega Red is and you want some more info, you can actually check out the detailed videos of each of these statues. Most recently, it was this custom one here on my left. You can check out the video. We talk a little bit about the history of Omega Red, and it's a detailed review on this piece. Now, probably about a year ago, I'm not sure on the time frame, I did a review on this one from Xmen Studios. So this is a licensed piece, which means it was approved by Marvel. You can check out the video right here. But today we're going to put these two in a competition. That's right, it's what we call an Extreme Rumble or an Xtrumble. We're going to compare and contrast all the different categories we rank statues on. That includes concept, design, paint, sculpt, value. New category we've been throwing in is base. And then announce an overall winner. And as I said in the intro, I don't need two Omega Reds, so one of these we're going to put up for sale, so stay tuned for that. And while we're going to briefly overview these statues in those different categories, if you want the detailed information on each statue, make sure to check out those individual videos. So with that, let's just kick it off, and we're going to go in the same order as we do for a traditional statue review, starting with concept. Now the concepts, believe it or not, are kind of similar. They're both in really funky poses on a base that has snow and ice on it that has ties back to Omega Red's origins. So looking at both of these, moving up, as I said, they're very similar. You kind of feel like it's, hey, in Russia where Omega Red was actually transformed into Omega Red. And remember, he was a mutant. They just did some enhancements to him. So he's standing on top of that in both situations. In the custom one, it's a little bit more destroyed and worn. So I really like that aspect of the concept. I think it tells a little bit different story. They're both in really crazy poses. If you recall, I thought the XM Studios one looked like he was a dancer. But what's crazy is they both have really long right legs, where the custom one, he's bent over a little bit. The tentacles are coming out. They're in the traditional Omega Red outfit with a little bit of variance between them, which I like. And they both have a number of portraits showing his long flowing Goldilocks despite a little bit difference on the color. Very fierce portraits, and I think they both do a very good job showing the fierceness of Omega Red. Looking at both of these, I think pose really ties into the concept of it. And I think this one's a lot more fierce. And I kind of like the fact this guy's a little bit more bulky. He's a little bit more thick. I like it when it's more thick.
Hey, that's what she said.
So I do have to give the concept to the custom. I think that is definitely the winner in this category. Now, before we jump into design, let's talk about the bases really quick. I think they're both great ideas, and I think, an advantage that the XM Studios one actually has, it's a very small footprint, which collectors, space, and boxes are our enemy. However, I think there's a much bigger story when it comes to the custom one. I like how they laid out the ice and snow everywhere as opposed to just on the small bottom part. Honestly, this looks a little bit more in scale to the statue itself, I think. They both have a lot of cool detail on them, without a doubt, but I think that the XM Studios one is just a little bit more boring than the custom one. The custom one's pretty exciting, so I think when it comes to the base, we are also going to award that to the custom piece as well. Now we're going to talk about design. There's a few things that go into design. One big thing, is there any problematic issues when assembling it? Well, if you recall the two different videos, there's not really anything big, so I don't think that's anything we can take into consideration today. Another thing is scale, or how much room it takes up. The licensed one by XM Studios is supposedly 1/4 scale. Custom one, I believe, was supposed to be 1/4 scale, but I think it's a little bit bigger than that, which I don't really mind because I think Omega Red is supposed to be a big character. But because he's hunching over, you actually see that the XM Studios one is actually physically taller. And nothing is crazy elaborate where it's taking up a ton of space. While the base of this does take up twice as much space, it's not too much for a 1/4 scale statue, especially with a lot of the crazy X-Men statues that I have. So I don't think there's a clear winner on that at all. So we're going to have to look at display options. Now, specifically, we mean switch out options. So really quick, as you recall with the custom one, there were 7 different portraits, which in my opinion is actually overkill. However, a lot of people like that. So let's do some comparison of some portraits. So here's both of them, kind of showing a fierceness. So here they both are, showing him kind of gritting his teeth. But then, as you know, the custom has a ton more. One where his hair is braided and he doesn't have the headband, and you see a lot more of the circuitry. Pretty cool. You have another one where he's gritting his teeth and he has mutton chops on the right. And I was actually told in the comments by Bronx Collectibles, this is out of a Wolverine cover, and I remember that now. So that's pretty cool that it's something different that they did this. I'll never use it, but it's still pretty cool to have. Another one here with his mouth shut, but he has Wolverine marks on his face, Wolverine claw marks. That's kind of his arch enemy. Here's another one with his mouth closed, no Wolverine claw marks. And finally, one where he has gritted teeth and kind of that Elvis lip we talked about. So that's just the portraits. So the custom has 7. The licensed one, XM Studios, has 2. Then for switch outs on the XM Studios, yeah, I guess that's it. But as you recall, on the custom one, there's 11 different tentacles, 4 different hands, 4 different shoulder options. So I think when it comes to displayability and design, I think clearly, once again, the custom takes the point on that. So now we're going to get into the meat of it, and this is the paint and the sculpt, because this is what's really, really important. So I think first, let's talk about the sculpt of these pieces. Focusing on the base, again, I think the edge goes a little bit more to the custom, not only because of the snow and ice effect, which I think is amazing, but some of the small details and kind of the machinery and the circuitry of this, the piping, I think it kind of blows away a little bit of, I don't want to say basic, but it's more basic than the custom. Speaking of XM. Looking at Omega Red, first I want to talk about the anatomy. As we look through the anatomy, I think they both did a really nice job. There's actually a little bit more muscularization on the XM Studios one, if that's even a word, where, like I said, it's a little bit more thick, a little bit more beefy, where you can still definitely see those muscles in his legs and his arms and his back in the custom one, but both look really, really nice. The costume is considerably different. You have a textured pattern on the custom one where you have this smooth feeling on the XM Studios. Now that's really a preference decision. I prefer the texture. I think it gives it a little bit more depth to the statue, so I appreciate that more. On the portraits even, talking specifically about the sculpt, not about the paint, I think that it's definitely an advantage. There's more detail on the custom ones. They did more with the implants. They did more with some of the features around the mouth and the eyes, so I definitely give the edge there. So look at the sculpt of the hair. Way better in the custom. A lot more differentiation in the strands. I like the flow a little bit better. So I think the props goes to them on that. Then the last thing I want to talk about is look at the belt. So his utility belt right here. I think it's no contest. Once again, the custom is much better sculpt on it. It's pretty detailed, where the XM, unfortunately, looks pretty mediocre. And what's crazy is XM Studios is known for being one of the best in the game. And that doesn't mean that this statue is bad. This one just beat it in the sculpt. And I think we're going to see the same pattern when it comes to paint. So again, let's look at the portraits again. First of all, just the detail in the portraits you can see. There's so much more that actually went into the custom. Not only in the portraits, but look at the hair. So paint in the hair. This is just a matter of preference. I'm not saying that it's better, but I like the more Goldilocks shine that you have on the custom. It's a little too pale for me, even though that may be more comic accurate. I'm not sure on that. So one other thing I really do like, I like the straps that are coming down from the shoulder pads. I think that gives XM Studios a little bit of an edge in that area. I think that was creative, it was unique, it was different. Very impressed with that, where they don't have those in the custom. Look at the uniform. So the uniforms, I think, are done equally well with paint. However, I think that the custom pops a little bit more because of the shade of red that they actually decided to use in the darker shades and the infolds of the costume. And I think that texture really draws out the paint a little bit more. But otherwise, I think the shadowing's a little overdone on XM Studios. And I wish, like, when you look at the metal parts of him, like the armor on the shins, XM Studios should have done a little bit more worn. You don't see any... You see some physical sculpted damage, but the paint really doesn't show that it's worn. This is part of his permanent costume, so I think that was a little bit of miss. And you could say that with the shoulder pads as well. The tentacles here, they look too shiny and too new. They look a little plasticky on XM Studios with the paint. I think they didn't do a great job choosing the right coat of paint compared to the custom. Now keep in mind, I wouldn't have known that the tentacles on the XM Studios I wasn't a fan of if I never saw the custom in person. So they're still done well. I think it just goes to the custom on this. And then lastly, the paint on the base. Look at the snow effect differences. I don't know how well it's showing up in these pictures, but in real life, it is 10 times better. I think the snow was a huge miss on the XM Studios, which is crazy because they have some other pieces where they did snow fantastically. Not to mention the icicles and ice effects that you have on the custom. So once again, paint goes to the custom. Now, this is the part where XM Studios actually has a fighting chance. We're going to measure value. Now, both of these are relatively low edition sizes, or how many they made. So they made 350 of the license, which is a very, very low edition size for a license piece. And they made 64, I think, of the custom, which is about average for a custom piece. So yes, this one is much more rare. However, retail price with shipping on this one was about $1,900 or so, give or take. And this one was about $1,100 or so, give or take. So while we go through all those categories and we say, yeah, custom's better in this, custom's better in this, is it 80% better? That's the question we have to ask. And not only that, but you have to remember that customs have a limited market. A lot of people don't like to get into the custom game. So I think that also eliminates some of the value added to this. So I think the real question to answer value is, could I get my retail price back for both of these? Honestly, I think I could. And especially, we talked about this in the custom review. If Omega Red is introduced to the MCU, I think both of these will shoot up in value. I think another big advantage you have going for both of them is collecting X-Men statues is a pretty popular line to collect. So the fact there's not a lot of Omega Red statues, I think both of these are actually sought after. And honestly, I can't give an educated guess on who would win the value in this. Maybe we'll see, because I'm going to try and sell one, and we'll see what it goes for. So unfortunately, this wasn't an Xtrumble that probably turned out like people didn't expect, but I do think the custom is a clear winner in every single category, which is why I'm going to put this one up for sale. We're doing an auction on Memorial Day here, but if you don't want to wait and you want to buy him for $1,200 plus fees shipped in the US, continental US only at this time, go ahead and email me at extremechannelmrx@gmail.com. He's in perfect condition. Like I said, $1,200 shipped in the US. I'm just trying to get my money back and then have the $100 cover shipping. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Really appreciate you guys watching. Please let me know. I know a few people will still favor the XM Studios because this is just my opinion on these, so let me know that in the comments. If you like stuff like this, hit that picture of me, drop me a like on your way out. I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.